We Folk Number 1, Wrong in All the Right Ways, read by Conan Bell. Another night, another debauch of all the delicious drinkable delights this group of satyrs loved. Of all the different wee folk in Wee All City, the wee satyrs took their partying the most seriously. This particular gaggle of goat-footed goofballs, clip-clopping on their cloven hooves, had long been on the move for yet another drinking establishment that hadn't already kicked them out for their excessive drinking, increasingly foul odor, and terrible attempts at karaoke. One woman among them, called Lush by her friends, was the first to drink herself into staggering steps and slurred words. She had to lean on a nearby friend to stay on her wobbling trotters as their herd migrated to their next drinking spot. "I must be losing my edge," she mumbled. "Only 8 shots and I'm already tipsy. Lee, you shouldn't have punched that guy so early in the night." She adjusted the grape leaves on her chest to keep herself modest, by satyr standards anyway. A man among them rubbed his hairy arms on his already greasy t-shirt, tastefully printed with the word noob. "Well, excuse me, but he was wrong about something, and I therefore had no other viable option." He let out a loud belch. "I forget what about, but another beer or two and I should remember." A shadow eclipsed theirs in the streetlight, and the group turned around to see what colossal figure had decided to join them so close. "Such utterly wretched creatures you are," it said in a deep, pretentious tone. "No one will mind if one or two of you are never seen again, will they?" All at once, those sober enough to run for their pathetic lives clattered away, leaving Lush to list back and forth before finally planting her reddened face on the pavement. She turned around on her elbow to face the giant that loomed over her. "No, please don't eat me!" "I wouldn't dream of eating you as you are," the posh voice lowed over her. "First I shall sober you up overnight." The satyr woman looked up in horror at the giant's words. "Eat me! For the love of everything holy, please eat me!" The giant grabbed the writhing woman by her face, preventing her from screaming anymore, and carried her away. Times were always busy for the wee heroes, protectors of Wee Folk City. In a land populated by desirable targets, wanton despots, and prowled by hideous monsters, there was always reason for someone to either be out on patrol or actively punching something. Even so, there were times where 1 or 2 heroes had to stick around the station and wait for others to come back and relieve them. Superstar, the yellow-clad ray of sunshine, was unlucky enough to be the one slouched over the sofa in the back room, staring at news monitors he couldn't be bothered to pay that much attention to. That's when elevated voices in the other room rang out through the door, promising some relief from his hideous boredom. "They took her! Gonna eat her! Do things! Make it not happen!" "Slow down, sir, so I can pretend to care a little." "An Oni! It had to be! Big horned muscle thing!" "I know what an Oni is. Thank you for insulting my intelligence." "We need to get her back! Please, we're begging you!" "Look, a wee Oni needs at least 3 wee heroes to take on effectively, and we only have 1 to spare. Is this friend of yours really that important?" "An Oni? A giant club-wielding brute?" Superstar's smile widened to absurd proportions at the possibilities. He kicked down the door between himself and the front desk and jumped onto it, the 4-pointed star on his chest puffed out. "Fear not, goat people," he declared. "I, Superstar, the shining ray of hope, will brave the odds and bring your friend back safe and sound. No great beast, monster, or mildly annoying heckler will ever detain me from my righteous quest for peace, justice, and liberty for all." The satyrs stared at him for a moment. One of them then gave the other a light nudge, and they all decided it would be appropriate to clap for such a bold and dramatic speech. Meanwhile, the black-wearing hero sitting behind the counter stared at him with a deadpan expression. "So, you're volunteering for a mission against a superior foe for the sake of bringing back a bar-hopping degenerate that people probably don't like that much anyway." Superstar shot him a disapproving glare. "See, Beatnik, that attitude is why no one likes you." The grumpy desk hero, Beatnik, adjusted his headphones and leaned back in his chair. "Fine, go ahead. Less work for me. Just don't come crying back to the boss when you get your arms ripped off." I'll be crying to her long before that happens, thank you very much, Superstar said with a huff. He returned his attention to the huddled satyrs before him. Now then, where was this Oni last seen headed? There came another silence, all the satyrs looking at one another and back at Superstar. Oh boy. Never mind, I'll figure it out somehow. Good luck with that, Beatnik quipped. The sun poked gently over the horizon, and Superstar made his way to a tall, well-kept house that seemed made for a very large person. Well, this is the next house on the list, he muttered to himself. He found a dangling rope next to a wooden door and figured it would be the doorbell, and lucky for him, there was no one around to tell him not to play on it. So he jumped onto it and began bobbing up and down, and each time the house rang with a loud gong sound. Superstar held tight to the bobbing rope and shouted with glee as it pulled him up and down, over and over. As this went on, the keeper of the house swung the door wide open. "What hooligan is playing with my—" He paused mid-sentence upon seeing the yellow Wii hero playing on his doorbell. "Will you let go of that? That is not a toy, I'll have you know!" Superstar lost his grip and fell to the ground. He at last noticed the pale blue monster before him, a pair of jutting horns sticking out from a powdered wig. The giant gripped a yardstick in his muscled hand and was so large that it looked almost like a riding crop by comparison. The Wii hero flipped to his feet and puffed out his chest. "I've finally found you! Your posh hoity-toity accent gives you away, villain!" The blue Oni stared at the hero. "What in blazes are you blathering about?" There then came a voice from inside, a woman's voice. "Help! He's keeping me sober! I'm not drunk when I'm sober!" The Oni sighed, then turned to reveal a hanging cage in the kitchen holding a very unhappy lady satyr. "Her logic is flawless, isn't it?" That was all the probable cause Superstar needed. He puffed out his chest and pointed dramatically. "You there! I am Superstar of the Wii Hero Corps! Release your captive, or I shall be forced to take her! By force!" The blue Oni stared at the little yellow thing in front of him in silence, then checked around them both. "Wii Hero? Where are the rest of you? Don't your kind normally travel in packs?" "They were busy doing stuff and things," Superstar declared. "I'll be plenty for you to deal with." The Oni adjusted his glasses. "Must you punctuate everything you say with an exclamation point?" "No, it just makes me feel good," Superstar responded. The little hero then held up both hands, and from each rose a small orb of light. "Now give me an answer by the count of 3 before I go nuclear on you. 1! The Oni looked him over, narrowing his eyes for a moment. "A young energy type, inexperienced, fatally overconfident, and stupid." 2! "Hey, that wasn't very nice." "Reality very rarely is, I'm afraid," said the Oni. Then, with a blinding swish of his yardstick, he batted both energy balls out of Superstar's hands, causing them to burst far away from the house in either direction. "For example, you were not ready for an Oni who wields a speedy weapon, were you?" Superstar blinked, dumbfounded for a moment. You're right. I was not." "You will soon learn, boy," said the Oni, "that I am always right." Before Superstar could answer, the yardstick cracked down onto his poor skull. A minute later, Superstar woke up tied over a bubbling cauldron inside the Oni's kitchen. "Wait, no, this isn't right," Superstar whined. "I'm supposed to do the rescuing, not the dangling." The blue Oni turned around to face him. "Well, you were not out long. You Wii heroes have some rather thick skulls, don't you? My breakfast still has further sobering up to do." Superstar raised an eyebrow. "But how? It's been hours." "I'm not sure, but I think those grapes on her head have already fermented." "Hey, that's a trade secret!" shouted Lush, proceeding to munch on one of the grapes from the laurel she wore. "You, on the other hand," the Oni continued, "are perfectly suitable as an appetizer." "You'll never get away with this!" Superstar shouted. "Actually, I will," said the Oni. "You're still new, so let me introduce myself. My name is Scala, the most intelligent Oni in the world." He proceeded to roll over a blackboard in front of Superstar, one covered in diagrams and notes in white chalk. The young hero cringed. "Wait, Are you seriously about to give me a boring school lecture about how hopeless my situation is? Indeed I am. Rabble like you needs to be well informed of just how ignorant and wrong you are whenever possible. You are a monster, Superstar blurted. Hush before I give you another beating, said Scala calmly. This school very much still embraces corporal punishment. I'll show you corporal punishment! Superstar then started to swing on the rope he was tied to. This earned him another slap with the yardstick, sending him swinging around all the more. You're the hero sent to rescue me? Lush lamented. Wow, you really are hopeless. Listen to her, little hero, said Scala. It's probably the most intelligent comment she will ever make. Superstar slowed down his spinning, a dizzy expression on his slightly greener than before face. You're wrong, he managed to say through his dizziness. Scala slapped his yardstick into his other palm. What did you say to me? His body began to tremble, his brow furrowing deep. You heard me, Superstar blurted. You're wrong! All of your stupid words coming out of your no-good face are completely wrong! You want to know why? His yardstick snapped. Oh, why would that be, pray tell? Because your stupid little diagram thingy assumes I can only make light orbs from my hands! Superstar summoned all of his courage, might, and phlegm, and with them spat an orb of light from his mouth into Scala's face, where it burst like a flashbang, sending the Oni into a roaring fit. Superstar used his brief moment's advantage to burn through his ropes unimpeded with his light orbs, then unhooked Lush's cage from its hanging chain. From there he ran, holding her and the cage over his head as best he could. He only just managed to pass the front door when Scala recovered from the flash and knocked them both aside with a single swipe of his hand. I am never wrong, you pestiferous troglodyte! Roared the once level-headed Oni. Superstar dropped the cage, and it rolled well out of his grip. No! Both he and Scala made a mad dash for the satyr, and the poor woman screamed, not sure she wanted either of these charging freaks to get to her. Unfortunately for Superstar, Scala managed to stomp him into the dirt before grabbing up the cage. You will learn your place, you little worm, he roared, lifting the cage over his head and smashing it down onto Superstar. The cage held together well enough for the first two swings. On the third, though, the cage smashed to bits, and Lush toppled to the ground. This is why you're a fool, Scala bellowed. You are weak, stupid, and utterly pathetic. I have spent years educating myself, training both my mind and my body to be the ultimate Oni. I am amazing. You are less than garbage. What do you expect to accomplish alone? That's when he spotted Lush looking at something behind him. The Oni turned around slowly, and there stood something he hadn't expected. 1, 2, 3, 4 more wee heroes, all battle ready. 1 pink, 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 black. Wait, no. When did you? You have assaulted and battered a wee hero, said the hero in red, a woman in a papery cape. Hi, boss, Superstar grunted under a mound of twisted metal and bruises. You got my distress signal, and before anything horrible happened. Hi, sweetie, called the hero in red, radically shifting to a motherly tone. Don't worry, we'll try not to let you wallow in your agony for too long, I promise! Superstar held up his thumb. Okay. As you can see, smirked the hero in pink, you just beat up the boss's favorites. Have you any idea what that means, my good man? Asked the hero in blue, stroking his mustache. If you're not smart enough to catch on, said Beatnik, evidently having decided to get off his butt and help out, it means you are royally screwed. After a moment of panicked indecision, the allegedly intelligent Oni swung his arm at the other heroes and was immediately surrounded and beaten to the ground for his trouble, the heroes using flashy powers and painful abilities that the narrator could not be bothered to describe at present. While this epic beatdown took place, Superstar forced himself back to his feet and looked around him. Goat lady? Hello? She was nowhere to be seen, not until Superstar checked the house once more. Once he was there, he found Lush chugging from a bottle of wine in Scala's kitchen. Ah, that makes the head trauma all better, said Lush. Oh, good. You're fine, said Superstar, allowing himself to fall over with a thud. Thank you for listening to We Folk Number 1, Wrong in All the Right Ways, read by Conan Bell. To hear more stories like this, stay tuned to this YouTube channel. To commission a story of your own, click the DeviantArt link in the description below for details. Help! He's keeping me sober! I'm not drunk when I'm sober! I wrote that line.